And the question that we're asking is, what's perhaps one piece of advice you would give someone hoping to follow a similar path and maybe get involved, maybe join a campaign or consider running themselves? What's one piece of advice would you give them?
Yourself. I think having a really solid sense of where you're coming from in order to connect to the constituents in the community. So the 3 points that I kind of started with my introduction, what's the story of self? What's compelling me to run? What's my story that the people will respond to? What is the story of us as a community? What about me that's going to connect to the community? And what am I going to do? What are our shared values and experiences together? And story of now. Why now? What is your call to action? What are we going to do together? And some of my panelists, we mentioned what some of that work can look like. And this is the advice that I got that was really helpful for me when I started thinking through what I wanted to do and who I was and my contribution. This was the advice I got from previous candidates and those who worked on campaigns. And I really wanted to make sure it was like a tangible thing to let that simmer in your brain if you were considering to run at any level of government. Those 3 things: story of self, story of us, story of now.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. So I'll just add a couple of things. I think, first of all, surround yourself with the best people, and that isn't always the political people, but the political people will find you once you register. But I think, the team that you put together is the team that you can work with, that have the skills that you may need, but you really need people that you can trust and that will support you throughout that. And I think the other thing, just to say to everyone here tonight, if we can do this, you can do this, because I believe that as social workers, you have the ability to relate and to communicate and to reach people on a very, on an individual level and on a group level. Scaling that up to a larger scale, to be able to be in front of people, to be able to reach a larger audience, is really about just being yourself and trusting that you already know how to do that. Because I think when we aren't in politics and we look at who's there, first of all, it's not representative of our communities whatsoever. And we sometimes discount our skills and our experience and our qualifications. And I would say any of us who've done this work are well primed and well prepared to be able to do this. And I know, as a person in school and as someone in my early career, I was not someone who would ever have thought I would be talking in front of large groups of people, even if I had something worthwhile to say. So it does take time, but it also means, you really just have to trust that you have what it takes, and surround yourself with people who believe in you, who will help you to realize that.
Who else have we heard from that would like to chime in on this last question, please?
I can go.
Thank you.
So, the biggest piece of advice I would say, first of all, get involved. If you don't want to run for office, get involved. Pick a riding association, find a political party. I'm not one to demonize one political party over another. I am partisan, but I have friends in all parties, and I've learned over the years that that's how you get things done. I learned that from Hazel McCallion, may she rest in peace. And just start getting involved, start getting somewhere. You may not want to do it. Not everybody wants to run for office. And there's other reasons why. The canvassing isn't always fun, and it's not for everyone. I loved it personally. But, public life is not always a fun thing. But there are other opportunities in politics. For every one politician that you see, there are a number of people that are working behind the scenes to help them do the work that they need to do. And even if you don't do it from, a job perspective, there's also so many opportunities to volunteer and make changes. And yes, you can make policy change without getting elected. You could be an advocate on an issue or get involved in an association, all those kinds of things. So that's number one. But my biggest piece of advice is, if you do get elected, if you find yourself winning on election night, whatever level of government you win at, and I hope you do, don't ever forget why you did it in the first place. Because I find that it's a very different experience to actually have power and constantly be afraid to lose it, right? And once you have a taste of that, it becomes almost addictive. I describe it as being on a hamster wheel inside of a fishbowl with everybody looking at you. And that doesn't sound like fun. And a lot of days it's not, but really, don't forget why you're doing it in the first place. And it's to make people's lives better, because that's the only thing that matters.
Noka, I have a question that I think actually pertains to ways to get involved. A burning question here.
Sure.
What kind of work can a social worker do to support politicians that are passionate about social justice besides becoming one? I would love to work in policy, but I don't think that I have the temperament or guts to be the face of policy. So if you could maybe just expand a little bit more about
Absolutely.
those roles.
So yeah, you don't have to actually run for office to work in a political environment. There are tons of jobs. So for example, at the MP or MPP level, typically any MP would have about 5 staff from EAs on the Hill, like the EA on the Hill, which is executive assistant, and then they'll have a legislative assistant who does a little bit more policy work, and they'll have 2 staff in the constituency office who actually do the actual constituency work, the day-to-day case management stuff. And so that's one. And if you end up working in a ministry, like for a minister, which is another, ministers, depending on the ministry, they could have anywhere between, a small ministry could have like 4 or 5 staff to possibly like up to 30, 35, depending on how large the ministry. And there's a lot of policy work. There's a lot of policy advisors involved. There's also the bureaucracy, right? So you also don't have to be in the political realm. There's also a massive bureaucracy on every level of government, including school boards, believe it or not. But usually the bureaucrats at school boards tend to be teachers, but you've got the municipal level, the federal level, the provincial level, and social workers can work in that realm as well. The only thing I would say from my experience is that it's a little bit of a harder jump from social work into those types of roles, because our practicums don't always have that, and maybe Veena can expand a little bit more on that. So it's finding those opportunities. We have, someone is saying we have placements in policy and government. So there you go, pursue a placement, and if that's what you want to do, pursue a placement in policy and government, and then you'll navigate your way just the way you would navigate any other field. But certainly lots of opportunities there. And we need more social workers. We need more social workers everywhere, in every party, please, so that they all hear from us.
Thank you. That's excellent. I'm getting a message now. I think we're just being mindful of time. And so unless I know, Kiara, we didn't hear from you from the last question. If you had a quick answer or something
I'll
that
be
you'd like to add.
really quick. Build a team. I keep going back to this because this is like so core to organizing and political work and community work. It happens when people come together. So if you are thinking about running for office or thinking about getting involved politically in some way, build a team. And Anoka touched on this a little bit. There are lots of opportunities to get involved politically, even if it's not as the candidate. Although the second piece of advice I would give everyone is do not let imposter syndrome prevent you from stepping up to run. Because everyone is nodding because we've all dealt with it and we all ran successful campaigns. So don't let that paralyze you into inaction, but recognize that building a team is the way that these things happen. It's the way that change happens electorally, community-wise. Any way that change happens is because people, regular people like you and me, came together to make it happen. So if you're thinking about running, find out who's on your team. If you want to try to get someone else to run because you think they would be great, offer to be on their team. And that is actually a great way, because when someone wins, they want the people on their team to be in their office. So don't let imposter syndrome stop you, and build a team, because that's how we get things done.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think that's it for our questions. I'm gonna hand it over to Shawnee for I think closing remarks.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And wow, what an amazing group of panelists, a wealth of experience. We are truly blessed to have had Yvonne, Kiara, Noka, and Veronica out with us this evening. So thank you very much. And thank you for sharing your motivations, your insights, tips. Some key learnings that stood out for me: politics was a way to make an impact as a social worker, and coupling this with, key learnings that we've all experienced coming to York School of Social Work, working at the different levels, looking at everything around you is so important. Using an anti-oppressive framework, critical lens, helps to lift the voices of those on the margins to the center. How do we do system navigation at its best? But not only that, system change. And this last line for me really stuck with me, but systems are designed by people. So get allies on your side, challenge the system, don't take no for an answer, surround yourself with the best of people, and the political people will find you. So that to me definitely resonates to continue doing the work that we do as social worker, and the political people will find us to make sure those changes happen at a meso and a macro level. And really today's presentation is a glimpse into the various roles that are held by social workers and graduates from our School of Social Work who affect social change. We want to thank you, our panelists, the students, alumni, and faculty for attending today's engagement session. Thank you to our alumni committee for organizing today's event. Special thanks to Lanique and Pip Horn for your excellent coordination and execution of today's events. Our moderators, Chris Pimento and Elizabeth McGregor, thank you. You did an awesome job. Please stay tuned for further information regarding upcoming alumni events. We are always interested in hearing your ideas for future events. So yes, this is your call to action. If you have any ideas or would like to join our alumni committee, please send us an email at sowkalumni@yorku.ca. I've just put it in the chat for folks. And as we leave today's session, energized and prepared to continue our individual and collective action, remember that your alumni committee is here to support you, and you can do this work because you are a social worker. And lastly, if we, i.e. the panelists, can do this, so can you too. And on that note, thanks again for joining us. Have a great night, be safe, stay well, and happy Black History Month.